everyone. My name is Liz Huffaker, and I'm an education specialist here at Veritas Education. This video series is focused on the issues and puzzles in education. Let's begin. Last time, Dr. Wu spoke to you about growth mindset, which is to believe that one's abilities can be built through learning and dedication. Today, let's take a closer look at the learning curve and how to apply this knowledge to navigating academic study. At the beginning of learning, the brain receives and memorizes new information. The forgetting curve shows how learned information slips out of our memories over time, unless we take action to keep it there. The steepest drop in memory happens quickly after learning, so it's important to revisit the information you've learned sooner rather than later. But this is just the first step. The next step is to connect the pieces of information. When you first learn something new, your brain is like a forest of trees with dense foliage and no clear pathway between points A and point B. Learning is to connect A and B. When you first connect A with B, it takes a long time to find the trail. The new pathway is not clear. You still get lost frequently. Through practice, that trail is widened and turns to a dirt road. Now you can get to B, but not very fast. These two stages represent a slow beginning of your learning. After you do more practices, the dirt road turns to a paved road and eventually into a highway. This represents an accelerating learning process, which then leads to proficiency. Then your brain will try to build a convoluted highway for information to connect and interact. But this process is not an upward straight line. It is up and down with dips in the middle until it reaches the top. So why should you learn about the learning curve? Because it is like a roadmap to guide you. It enables you to be aware of where you are in different fields. For example, a doctor is proficient in the medical field, but he might be at the beginning of learning for the investment field. The learning curve can also remind you not to be overconfident when learning seems easy and encourage you to be resilient when you encounter difficulties. We've also found that the learning curve is useful to explain the discrepancy between evaluation results for the same student. Under a cumulative evaluation system, the pathway of the learning curve is less important. However, under a phases evaluation system, the pathway of the learning curve does matter. The US secondary education system is more close to a phases evaluation system. Grades need to be earned at each phase. In the end, the grade point average, or GPA, will be used to apply for college. Many parents come to us for help to improve their children's GPA. By studying the learning curve, we have figured out a way to help. When looking at the learning curve of each phase, we see that the learning curve has a slow beginning because students easily forget when they first learn the information. This will result in a failure on the test if it is administered before the learning curve steepens and accelerates. Therefore, we use a GPA management program. By starting earlier and doing more practices, students can move their learning curve to the left and enter to the stage of fast improvement when the school begins to teach. By the time they reach the test, they will have already reached their potential level. With a GPA management program, students' learning curves can be pulled to the left and pushed upward. Meanwhile, students experience a boost in confidence in learning and feel like they are riding on the curve, which increases their chance to get an overall satisfactory GPA for the course. In sum, the learning curve is a roadmap to navigate academic study. It is helpful to know your learning curve and manage your learning process accordingly. Thank you for watching this video, and please tune in next time for the next topic of this series. Bye-bye.